Alhamdulillah wa kafa. Wassalatu wassalamu ala ibadihi alladhina astafa. Khususan afdalihim wa khatamin nabiyyin Muhammadin al-amin wa ala alihi sahbihi ajma'in wa ba'd. Qala Allah ta'ala fil Qur'an al-Karim, a'udzu billahi minasyaitonir rajim. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Yusabbihu lillahi ma fis samawati wa ma fil ardi malikul quddus al-azizul hakim. والذي بعث في الأميين رسولا منهم ليتلو عليهم آياته ويزكيهم ويعلمهم الكتاب والحكمة وإن كانوا من قبل لفي ضلال مبين إلى آخر الآية. قال أيضا ونزلنا عليك الكتاب تبيانا لكل شيء هدى ورحمة وبشرى للمسلمين. الآية. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. I will use English in this speech so that we can understand, even though you are from different country with different language. So I greet you with Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. All praise due to Allah, and peace and blessings be upon His noble messengers Rasulullah Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, to his family, to his Sahaba, companion, and his follower until the Akhir Zaman. Before we start our discussion, our topics today, I would like to remind you that the intention of this course was that I want to make this Quran study activities as a reminder for us as Muslims, so that we can give advice, give counsel to each other. So before the course begin, I would like to let you know the intention first. Okay, the intention, niat, and the necessity, how important Quran for us. Sometimes we forget what it is meant to us as Muslims, so that we can have such an awareness that the Quran is a guidance, and by doing so we will build our understanding towards the Quran. And finally, we will have internalized the Quran, internalized in our life, so that we can uphold it and live by the Quran. That's my intention for this course. Okay, so get ready your mushaf. Maybe if you don't bring your own mushaf, maybe you can take in the shelf. Okay, please take the mushaf. So we'll begin the course with the surah number 62. Surah number 62, Surah Al-Jumuah. So there's a reason that why I picked this surah, this particular surah. So for your information, it's on the chapter 62, Surah Al-Jumuah.
Chapter
62.
Please.
Okay, take it for Tino. So, first of all, this surah is one of the Madani surah. So, for those of you who didn't know what is Madani surah, so basically there is please take a seat. You can take it here. Okay. Okay, please have a seat. Okay, we will continue. So now we are going to discuss, going deeper in the 62th of the surah in the Quran, which is entitled Surah Al-Jumuah. Okay, so for your notes, this is one of the Madani Surah. And what is the Madani Surah means? Do you know what is Madani Surah? Madani.
The surah that turned down in the Madinah.
Madinah. So
All the
yeah. So this surah revealed down in Medina, and there is Makki surah which is revealed in Makkah. So the distinguish between the Makki surah and Madani surah, at first is the place where does it reveal. Okay, the first, and the second one, the Makki surah,
short.
it's short and purpose to
Remember
Tawhid.
the God.
And who's the object?
God.
Who's is
The kafir.
the disbeliever. So the Makki surah mainly purpose on the disbeliever,
For kafir.
so that they will introduce to Tawhid.
Tawhid.
For Madani surah, the main object is the Muslims. So the Madani surah meant for us it's meant for us so that we can be reminded, so that we can internalize what is Quran meant to be. Okay, and one notes that this is one of the Musabihah. What is Musabihah? Musabihah is the surah which begins with the Sabbaha lillahi ma fis samawati wal ardh. Like the Surah to Saf.
Asaf, yes.
Saf. First it's Al-Hadid, Saf, Al-Jumuah, and then Al-Hashr also. Al-Hashr, and then At-Taghabun, if I'm not mistaken. So that is the example for the Musabihah. So this Musabihah, but I will tell you later on, maybe in next lecture maybe. So the name of this surah came from one of the passage in this surah. It's on the 9 ayah, the Jumuah. Ila min yaumil Jumuah. Which refers to the Friday prayer and the ethics of the Friday prayers. If you notice that there are some rules in the Friday prayer in the 10 and 11 surah, in 10 and 11 ayah, and I will tell you that this surah is telling you the entire surah Nabawi. It summarized the struggles of the Prophet ﷺ in a comprehensive way. I will going deeper in the next slide. Okay. So by doing this lecture, I hope that we can answer this particular question. What is the strategic importance of Friday prayer? Because sometimes we go to the mosque, to the masjid, having khutbah, and maybe we sleeping, but we doesn't know what we don't know what it should be done in the Friday prayer. What is that? What is the strategic importance in the Friday prayer? So I take these materials from the Mubayyin.tv and the dictionary from Al-Mufrad fil Qur'an, Lisan Arab, and so on, and I modify all the materials by my own. And let's just continue first. So this is the ayah, the first, second ayah, and the third ayah, 4, 5. So in this lecture, I'll try to going deeper in this first 5th ayah. But if our time is if it's not enough, maybe just 2 ayah, just the first 2 ayah. but I already prepared for the first 5. So let's go in deeper for the first ayah. So if you see the translation, Yusabbihu lillahi ma fis samawati wa ma fil ard, al-malikil quddus al-azizil hakim. So if we translate it to the English, it is the Muhsin Khan translation. I take the Muhsin Khan. Muhsin Khan, if you Googling it, you can Googling it, Muhsin Khan translation. You can also try Yusuf Ali translation. So the translation, whatsoever in the heavens and whatsoever is on the earth glorifies Allah. Actually, it should be Yusabbihu lillah first, glorifies Allah, and then whatsoever. But if we take that in the sentence in English, it would be weird. So we translate this way. So Yusabbihu lillahi ma fis samawati wa ma fil ard. This section is the same or similar with the other musabbiha. Sabbaha lillahi ma fis samawati wa ard. That's the same. Okay. But this second section, it's unique. It's unique. In this ayah, how many Allah's names mentioned? How many? Al-Malikil Quddusil Azizil Hakim. How many names? 4 names. So there's 4 names here. Okay, 4 names, which is unusual, unique, because the other ayah usually have 2. Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim, Azizul Hakim, Ghafur Rahim, and so on. It's called Fawasil, the terminology. So bear into your mind these 4. Okay, 4. Remember 4. So we're going deeper into this first ayah. So Al-Malik, Al-Quddus, Al-Aziz, Al-Hakim. So let's try to going deeper. So first, Al-Malik, the king, the pure, the authority, the wise. Okay, let's go into the next one. Al-Malik. What's Malik? King.
The king.
But there's difference. There's Malik and Malik. Malik, it's for owner. Malik, it's for king. Okay. So if I say, who owned this? Someone. Okay. But is he the king? Okay. So if we try to take a look at the dictionary, so we will get this explanation. So if we trace back the roots from the Arabic, the 3 characters Mim, Lam, Kaf, it should form the rule, to rule, to command, to be capable, control, king, kingdom. Okay, I'll take a note on the kingdom. Okay. So for example, Tino, where do you come from?
Ponorogo.
Now where do you live?
Where is Ponorogo?
Taipei.
Taipei. How do you tell that you are now living in Taipei, not in Ponorogo? How?
How you tell that I stay in Taipei?
Yeah. How do you know that this is Taipei, not Ponorogo?
From the environment.
Environment.
Yes.
And what else?
From the people.
The
The
people.
people is different.
The people different.
Yeah.
Language different.
Language
okay.
different.
What else?
The government.
The government different.
Government.
Okay. The government. So there are signs. Okay. There are signs that you can differentiate. Okay. So that you can tell that you are now living in different country, different rules, different authorities, different government. Okay. So keep in your mind science, okay? Science, kingdom and science. So this explanation concludes that Al-Malik is the one who has sovereignty, or simply we can call the king. Okay? And the next one is the Al-Quddus. What is the meaning of Al-Quddus? Quddus.
Suci.
What is
Pure.
suci? Pure. Pure. Okay. If we'll take a look at the dictionary, we will notice that there's to be pure, holy, holiness, purity, sanctify, and so on. But why Allah make this word Quddus, not Zakah? Because Zakah or Tazkiyah is pure also. Do you know the difference? Tazkiyah and Quddus.
Yeah.
Tazkiyah, we achieve Tazkiyah by doing something. But Quddus is the source of the pure, source of the all pure living things, all of them. It's the source of all of them is the Quddus.
Qudus.
Quddus. So if we give zakat, that means before we give the zakat, all of our belongings is impure.
It's not pure.
It's not pure. So if we want to make ourselves pure, we should give zakat. Okay. This also should take notes, the zakat. So Al-Quddus is inherently pure, certainly, absolutely pure. Okay. And the third is Al-Aziz. Al-Aziz.
Al-Aziz.
What is Al-Aziz?
Wise.
Strong.
Oh.
That's the word. Powerful, potent, strong, etc. Also, Al-Aziz is mentioned in the story of the Prophet Yusuf a.s. The king in Egypt during that time mentioned in the Quran as Al-Aziz.
Al-Aziz.
So, simply Al-Aziz is powerful, but there are words with the same meaning. Al-Qayyim, it's also powerful, but what is the difference between the Al-Aziz and Al-Qayyim? The difference is Al-Aziz combine respect and authority. Respect and authority. So if we combine those two things, we deal with law officer. Okay. We deal with law, with rules, with regulation. So that too should be keep in your mind, the law. So Al-Aziz is someone who possesses authority and at the same time commands respect. Okay, that's Al-Aziz. And the last, Al-Hakim. What is Al-Hakim? Wise. It's also the same words as in Indonesian language, Hakim, for judge. So if someone's going to be judged, what requirements should he have? Should he have? Wise. Having wisdom. Okay. So the important thing in this section is the wisdom. Okay. The one who has constant rule and possessor of constant wisdom. So wisdom, okay. The word that should we take notes for. Wisdom. So we begin the second ayah. Okay. So the first ayah, I will review a little bit. The first ayah mentioned 4 names of Allah. Okay, now the second ayah. Huwa alladhi ba'atha fil ummiyina rasulan minhum yaslu alaihim ayatihi wa yuzakkihim wa yu'allimuhumul kitab wal hikmah. you can count that there are also four process in this second ayah. 4. So in this surah, after Allah mentioned about Himself, the 4 names, in the second ayah Allah mentioned about who? The messengers, with 4 processes. And Allah mentioned about Al-Ummi, Al-Ummiyina Rasulun minhum. What is Al-Ummi? Yeah, the same root as the mother, Ummi. And if we translate it and look at the dictionary, actually there's several terms. Mother, illiterate or unlettered, also Arab. So when the Jewish community in the Medina or outside Medina calls the Arab with the word Ummi, the illiterate people. For general Arab, they use the word Ummi also. So what does it means? In other words, your formal education is compared to a baby. That's illiterate. So that's the correlation between the mother and the illiterate. Okay. This matter, this ummiyina, it is related to the Jews that time when the ayah revealed, because they criticize why the prophet comes from Arab and he is illiterate, why the prophet does not come from our side, from our people. They criticize that, and they actually in the end rejected the Prophet Rasulullah Muhammad SAW, but not all of them. Some of them convert to Islam, like Abdullah bin Salam, the rabbi, one of the rabbi who converts to Islam. So this illiterate matters actually reveals that Allah reveals that this ayah actually is an honor, because when you read and when you write, that's totally different thing, right? When you speak and you write, maybe you write your report, your thesis, your scientific paper or something, you will use words that not usual in speaking, in conversation. That's different. So Allah want to show that when He choose the Prophet as illiterate, it means that He want to reveal His own word by the saying of the Prophet, so that we can differentiate. Rasulullah SAW has been talking to the Meccan people for years, and the Meccan people know Muhammad. They know him for his trustworthy, his al-amin. But when Muhammad revealed the words of God, the Allah's word, the Qur'an, the people began to, what does it say? That's strange words that came out from Muhammad. It is proof that this is the word of God. So let's take deeper into this ayah. So the first process is Yatsu alayhim ayatihi. Yatsu is read. Itsla is tilawah, read. Same word. Reads unto the people, so that people will recognize what? The signs. The signs of what? His kingdom. That Allah is the king. So it's correlated with the Al-Malik. And the second Second one is the wayuzakihim. This ayah using the word zakah, tazkiyah, which means purify.
Purify.
So it is correlated with the Al-Quddus. Okay. Al-Malik, Al-Quddus. And then the third one, وَيُعَلِّمُهُ الْكِتَابِ. The third one is وَيُعَلِّمُهُ الْكِتَابِ. He teaches the kitab, which means he teaches the law. Who has the law, the authority? Al-Aziz. Al-Aziz is the law, the authority. And the last part is wal-hikmah. Wal-hikmah, wisdom. He teaches wisdom. Correlated with the Al-Hakim. So this has also four. Okay, four. So this is what being unique in this surah. This first and two ayah. Okay. Four names, Allah names, and four process, four mission that the Prophet accomplished. Okay, that's the unique. Okay, let's take a look. Yaslu alayhim ayati. So, like I said before, read and write is totally different thing. Okay. So, this is a proof that the Quran is Allah's speech, and therefore different to the speech of the Prophet himself. Okay. And the Quran, by doing so, is in a response to any intellectually philosophy. Like we're living in postmodern society, which may encourage us to have agnosticism, or maybe atheist, being atheist. So the Quran want to respond in all these matters. Okay, that's the point. Why Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam yaslu alaihim ayati, so that we can have foundation, Quranic foundation. So the Prophet reads signs. Okay, yaslu alaihim ayati, reads signs. What sign? In the samawats and al-ard. That's the sign. So the people will recognize who is the king, the real king. It's Allah, Allah Ta'ala. And the second one is wayuzaki, zakah. Terminology is zakah. It is spiritual cleansing. So after yaslu alayhim ayati, after the Prophet reads to the people, the next process is purify, spiritual cleansing. The ayah using tazkiyah. So this is described that the people may has impure in their life. They may have sins whatsoever. Okay. So human being, they have void. In another surah, in the Surah Al-Jumuah, verse ayat 2 and 3, Allah revealed that He gave revelation fisudur, to fill His chest. So before revelation, before the ayah came to our understanding, came to our internalization, our heart is still in the void. Like I said before, we are now living in the postmodern society where the people may not recognize the God, or maybe they are not recognize religious things. Okay. So we need spiritual cleansing. That's here. And the highest form of spirituality that have ever been achieved by human being is when Isra Mi'raj, when the Prophet ﷺ reached the highest level and meet Allah. And what's happened next? Allah gave the command Salat. So that's why in Salat, the most of the things that we do in the Salat is what? Reciting the Qur'an. Reciting the Qur'an, so that we can go as far as we can to reach highest level. Although we cannot, it cannot be done because it's only for Rasulullah Muhammad SAW. But we try to achieve that level of spirituality. So this implies that Muslims, we may underestimate the spiritual power of the Quran, that it does purify, it does change people, it changes people. When the Quran reads, Umar bin Khattab changed from the darkness to the light. They change people. It changed people. It can be a turning point when someone understands the Quran and realize what is important to us. And the third one, وَيُعَلِّمُهُمُ الْكِتَابِ. He teach the kitab. So the process in this whole ayah, the four process, is simultaneous. Reads into the people, purify, and then teach the kitab. He teaches the book. He teaches the law. After purifying people, he teaches the law. So why would people care about the law if they are not clean on the inside? So the first thing is not giving the knowledge about the law itself. The Prophet purify, make the people realize that what they are doing is wrong. That is the first point. Thing that Rasulullah Muhammad SAW did. So we cannot teach people about law if they are not knowing that what they are doing is wrong. So the purify comes first before teaching the law itself. It was the Quran that changed Umar bin Khattab, like I mentioned before. Until this point, you got the whole idea, right? You got all the idea. And the last part is wal hikmah. Wal hikmah, he teaches wisdom. He teaches wisdom. What is hikmah? Hikmah. So I concluded that hikmah is actually the knowledge itself, and how we act upon that knowledge, how we live by that knowledge. Imam Shafi'i and Malik, they use the term sunnah. So Imam Shafi'i and Malik define that the book, the kitab as the book, the Quran, the hikmah as the sunnah. So it has the similar with this meaning. So hikmah, when someone got knowledge and they live upon it. For example, if I said fire, you will know that fire will burn, right? Will you touch the fire or not? No, that's the wisdom. That's the wisdom. But there are people who knew the knowledge, who knew knowledge, but they are still not live upon. There are people who still doing that. That is totally, absolutely not wisdom. So it is possible for someone to have knowledge but not have wisdom. It is very possible. So the Prophet methodology, the Prophet mission was to teach the law and then teach people how to be able to live and uphold to it. This is the conclusion of the second ayah. This is the conclusion of the second ayah. So the whole surah, actually the main principle of this Al-Jumuah, Surah Al-Jumuah, is on the second ayah. Is the Prophet methodology to establish what? To establish community, to establish a Muslim community, to establish Jama'ah. So that's correlation between Jama'ah and Jumu'ah. So Jumu'ah is the day when the Jama'ah is gathering together. So that's why the name of the surah is Jumu'ah. And Jumu'ah is also the name of when the day of judgment came, Yawm al-Jama'ah, when the people came together, Yawm al-Jama'ah. So that we can, when we go to Friday prayer, we will be remembered that we will also gather in the day of judgment. That's the reminder. And for the ayah 3 and 4, it's actually expansion from this to ayah. Okay. Let us see the third ayah. And he has sent him also to others among them who have not yet joined them, and he is the mighty and the all-wise. So wa akharina minhum, who have not yet joined them, lama yahaqu bihim. So what does this ayah means? Does this ayah means to the people of Medina, Al-Ansar, or the people of Makkah, or who? Who was mentioned in this ayah? Who?
The Prophet.
Really?
Really? Yes.
For whom does this ayah refers to?
The outside of Makkah and Medina.
Yes, for the people outside of Makkah and Medina. It's also about us. It's also about us. So after okay, so let's continue. So that the third ayah is actually is for the people outside of Mecca and Medina. This is the calling for us. It's a calling for people who not yet revealed by the Quran. So let's take a look at some notes. So it's referred to everyone apart from the original Mecca. So after the Ummah established, the prophetic message spread out of Mecca and Medina, like the message to the Byzantine, to the Persian, the message that there is a prophet that has been sent to you to give you guidance. That's the general message in this, and in when the message received by the Byzantine and the Persian. So there also a mention in the hadith in the Tirmidhi. So when the third ayah revealed to the Prophet was sitting down with the Sahaba, and the Prophet put his hand on the one of the Sahaba, Salman, if I'm not mistaken, Salman, and he said that, and he used his fingers to the sky, when it was at night, and he said that even to the furthest star in the sky, you people, there are several people who will reach to the sky. He refers the sky as the faith, iman. So there will be people who will join you. In other words, he said, he used the hyperbolic terms. So that there will be people who will join you in your ranks as Muslims. That's the message. That's the point of this third ayah. And the fourth ayah, ذَلِكَ فَضْلُ اللَّهِ يُؤْتِيهِ مَن يَشَاءُ. So that is the grace of Allah. That is the favor of Allah, which He bestows on whom He wills. So by Allah's will, Allah will change people. So who changed people? Allah. The Qur'an. It's not us. We tried to change people, but in the end, it's not us. It's Allah. It's Allah's will. Okay. So, what is the favor of Allah mentioned here? The favor of Allah mentioned here is that the messenger is making an entire nation educated, cleansed, spiritually cleansed, and the ayah is recited to them. That's the whole methodology that mentioned. That is the favor of Allah that we should be grateful for. Okay. Why the Prophet doing in this way? Because corruption may exist within the religion, including social manipulation, politics, economic. So we may have spiritual leaders, we may have fuqaha, ulama, but what do we should really have as a Muslims? We should be educated, at least as average Muslim. At least we understand what is Quran meant to be to us. At least. And in the fifth ayah, after all four, Allah's name and Prophet methodology and the expansion of the da'wah, in the ayah number 5, Allah mentioned the example from the people before you. So there is explanation. Okay, let's read the translation. Matalul ladzina hummilu, the likeness of those who were entrusted with the obligation of the Taurat, but who subsequently failed in those obligations is as the likeness of a donkey who carries huge burdens of books. How bad is the example of these people who denied Allah, the ayat, and Allah guides not the people who are zalimun. Okay, let's take deeper. Okay. So first, there's a word hummilu, hamala, ha mim lam. So if we take a note, the hamala, or if you know the Indonesian word hamil, it's the same root, pregnant. Because hamala is conceive a child also, pregnancy, hamala. Because when someone pregnant, she will carry another
The
way,
baby.
okay, the baby. Okay. So when we discuss about this humilu, the burdens, when we discuss the burdens, when we carry a burden, usually it's similar with carrying responsibility. Okay, responsibility. So this ayah, actually, the examples of the people who irresponsible. Okay. Burden, responsibility. To what? To the four process that mentioned before. Yaslu alayhim ayatihi wa yu'allimuhul kitab wa yuzakkihim wa yu'allimuhul kitab wal hikmah. The four process. So there are people who irresponsible. And Allah make an example in this 5th ayah. And then there's also asfaro. Actually, this is the same word as safar. What is safar?
Journey.
Yeah, travel journey. So when the word become asfaro, it's like journey through the text line by line. Line by line, journey through the text. So the books mentioned in this ayah is so many. So the responsibility is huge. So there are many books on the shelf that maybe you can claim you own your book, but have you realized what is the important from that book? Have you internalized the essence, the important things from that book? Which in this ayah, it is mentioned by the name Torah. Okay, Torah. So Allah said that the books are just burdens inside, and those people is similar with donkey. If you remember the Arabic course, so they are harful jar, yeah. So this I use kaf kamasalil himar. Kaf actually mean masal, in amsal, also amsala. Almost using these two words side by side, kaf and masala, kamasalil himar. So it is rhetorically speaking that it is actually the people who are doing this is close enough to be donkey. Not just donkey, it's close enough to be donkey. So it is much more, almost makes it much more, here more ugly. Donkey. So that's why in many cartoons you can, when you watch some cartoon and they are using donkey, it's like stupid.
What?
Stupidity, like in the Looney Tunes or something. When he changed in donkey, oh, you're so stupid.
Why donkey is mean stupid?
Yeah,
Why?
something like that.
Why?
It's becoming a culture in
Culture?
in Western, on the Western culture also. It is something that related to stupidity.
But I think donkey is useful.
Yeah, useful.
Like playful.
Not
Playful.
Yes.
Oh.
For playful.
So in this ayah, so what is actually Allah going to say is that the corruption may happen in the religion. The corruption may happen, and in this particular ayah, Allah did not mention the name of Bani Israel explicitly. Okay, so it may happen to everyone. It may happen. So there, if we irresponsible, Allah will gives us verdict donkey. close enough to be done. And also, this is some notes. So there are people who lost the fourth process. We know Allah mentioned Bani Israel implicit, not explicit. That's the example. So, if you read the Quran, you will notice that the Bani Israel is the knowledgeable people. They are very knowledgeable. They are know
Everything.
in many things. So so that's why Allah used the word wahum ya'lamun. Even though you are having knowledge, they were given the responsibility, but they failed. And Allah did not make reference only to Bani Israel, but also to us. So He restricted this only to the act, not the group. The example is Bani Israel, but is all Bani Israel did the same thing? No, actually, Bani Israel Israel itself is the name of the prophet. Okay, some of them is righteous people, but some of them they are misguided. But they are misguided miserably. They failed miserably. So very miserable. So that's why Bani Israel is the nation that mentioned most in the Quran. Allah mentioned Bani Israel the most mentioned in the Quran. So why? Because their pride. They assume that they are the chosen people. They have knowledge and so on. So when the Prophet ﷺ came, and he is Ummi, the Jewish community, they criticize. They asking many things, and when they ask, and the Prophet answered, they actually knew this is the Prophet, but they in the end rejected the Prophet because they cannot tell to their people. They cannot explain to their people, and they have their pride too high, and thus their pride clouded their judgment. Kadzabu bi ayatillah. So this is very have a strong impact. Kadzabu bi ayatillah. So having the Quran in your possession, you take the Quran, but you are not taking the time to learn from the Quran. It is the same as the denial. It is the same as lying against Allah. So that's why I try to make this course, the Quran study, so that we can study the Quran. We can internalize from the Quran and live by the Quran. Because when the Prophet did this many hundreds years before, he did this to establish the Ummah. He did this to build the Ummah, build the understanding. And the Ummah can spread out, and the message of Islam can spread out. So, what were the wrongs committed by the nation? First, they were given revelation. They were required to represent the teachings of more than anyone else. The people who burdens with the Torah. When they do not live up to it, we can say that they are the ultimate deniers who threw the kitab on the back, not live by that kitab. That's the point. So we are not having a conclusion up until this fifth ayah. The fifth ayah. So the four that mentioned in the surah is the principal things that given by Allah to turn a person around, to turn a person's heart from the darkness to the light. This is the mainly important in the surah. And the second, Allah is teaching us that if this formula is followed, if we follow this formula, then He can turn whomever He wills. Even any gangster you may find. If Allah is giving His will, that person will turn around. Turn around. So by applying this formula, the Prophet ﷺ turning the community and change people. And we can observe it, we can learn it if we read the Surah. We can read in details how the Prophet changed the people. So thus, in the end, this surah implies to Jama'ah how to create the Muslim community and how to maintain it. So one of the methods is by the Friday prayer. While the Jews have the Sabbath and the Christian have the
Sunday.
Sunday Mass. Yeah, Sunday.
Sabbath is Saturday, right?
Yeah, Sabbath. So this is the strategic importance of the Friday prayer.
Why the ayah is 9/11? Is mean the
No.
bomb.
No.
Yes, 9/11.
9 to 11.
Oh,
From ayah number 9 until 11. It's not 9/11 event, no. Different thing. Okay? So, up until this point, I've concluded the introduction of the Surah Al-Jumuah, and the course is ended, and maybe you can have a question if you want to ask or discuss. Do you have any question? You know? No?
why the Jum'ah prayer is
On Jumu'ah.
obligatory for men only, not
Okay.
for women?
Okay. First, Ar-Rijal Qawwamun 'ala Nisa. Okay. The man is what?
The king of women.
Leader.
Not the king, not the king.
Leader.
Qawwam, yeah, it can be leader, but for the Qawwam is it's the same word for standing. So the man stands before woman. So why the man should go to the masjid? Because he is the leader. And the leader of Jama'ah, who? Imam.
Imam.
Who is the leader in the family?
The
man.
father.
Father. So that's why the father should go to the masjid. Because or man go to the masjid because he will be the next leader in his family. That's why it's obligatory. Yeah.
But if every man go to mosque, who protecting our beloved woman? if every man go to mosque, so there is no man in the home, alright, just a woman. So who will protect the woman?
Actually, in the first, if we read the Surah, actually the women, they also go to the masjid. They also go, but it's not obligatory. They can go to the masjid. So if you said that, how we will protect the women? In the when the Prophet, so when the, if I said that when the Jumu'ah prayer established, when?
After Thursday.
Yeah, it's the day, not. I mean, when the first time Prophet doing the Jumu'ah prayer, when? You know?
I don't know.
I think after Tuesday, and then we get obligatory for
No,
Friday.
I mean, when the Prophet still in the Mecca, does he apply the Jumu'ah prayer? Does he doing Jumu'ah prayer?
No.
No. Why?
Still, because still
Few people.
Dangerous. And after Hijrah, the dangers?
Still dangerous.
No.
No.
In the Madinah, there's
the Prophet has the authority in Medina.
Yeah. The Prophet has the authority. The hukm, the law is applied to all people. The Muslim using the Islamic rule, the Jewish using the Torah's rule, and also the Christian also using the Injil's rule with the Sahifatul Madinah, the rules of Madinah. So what I am trying to say that the Jumu'ah prayer established in a secure place. So that's in that area when the Jumu'ah prayer established, it is a secure area, not a dangerous place. So when we go to the mosque and sometimes, oh, where's my sandals? That's the question. Why? Why does this happen? It means that we are missing something. If we think that if we leave our wives or our women in our own house and they are not protected by any who, that's the missing point. If this has happened, question to us, to Muslim Ummah, what's happened? Because Jumu'ah prayer established in a secure place. It should have been done that way. It should have been done that way. If we read the Surah. So that's why, in the first place, I'm taking note that this course is meant to us, so that we can live by the Quran. So that this lecture will be a reminder, so that you can internalize, understand. Also for me, reminder for me also, for you also. Got my point?
I want to ask some question. Is there any war that Prophet joined? I mean, there's some war in the Jumu'ah day.
I'm not sure for the Jumu'ah day, but for the from the Surah, if you take a look after Hijrah in the Madinah becoming a one nation, okay? One nation, one leader, Mr. Rasulullah Muhammad SAW. And when that comes, the people living outside Medina, may have some, if I would like to say the Meccan people, for example, they have some say grudge because they think that Muhammad giving their problems, and they want Muhammad bring back to the Mecca and justified in the Mecca. So they're making, they're provoking. So like the Badr, it is caused by the provocation when they going through their caravans for selling a trade to the Sham, to the Syria and so on in the Sham area. Their journey is travel past the Medina, and they are provoking the Muslims, and the Muslims were shocked that there were caravans crossing with a huge amount of trade goods, and thus the war started from that provocation. So if you say that is there any war that happened in Jumu'ah, that may have happened.
So I mean, is there any mention in the
prohibition?
Sirah?
The prohibition in the Jumu'ah.
Yes.
I see.
Not the prohibition for war. I mean even in a war situation, the Prophet still have a Jumu'ah prayer.
I will take a note that in the Khaybar war, it's war towards the Jews. The Jews who betrayed the rules, betrayed the trust,
MOU between the Prophet and
the Prophet and the Jews. And when that happens, it is mentioned that the Prophet ordered the Muslims to siege the field up until Maghrib, from the noon up until Maghrib, and they haven't yet Salat Zuhur, Asr and Maghrib, and their salat was performed after the siege. So basically, see, this can be explained in the temporary understanding of our fiqh. So it may happen in Jumu'ah. So if I'm thinking correctly, the Jumu'ah prayer may have not been performed, but the salat it should be done. But after the war song. But there are several occasions that it depends. Actually, it depends what situation that we are going through. But the important thing in if we read the Sirah, the Sahaba have their leaders, Rasulullah Muhammad SAW, who gave their orders. So it's clear what should they do. But nowadays, what should we do if that happens?
Hello? Sorry? Yes?
Okay, any question? Any question?
Oh, this way.
You know why? What happened? No?
Alay.
Oh, alay.
Yes.
What's alay, Tino?
Are you?
Okay, if there's no question, I think we can end this course, and I want to have feedback from you. Do you